Hey children, it's me, Mr. Todd. I haven't seen you in a while. I bet you're wondering, Mr. Todd, where are all the monkeys? Isn't it time for Monkey Bible Theater? Well, after that last lesson about the Sabbath, you remember the one on the Commandment about taking the Sabbath and honoring the Sabbath, those monkeys refused to work today. So, it's going to be me. And today's lesson is the last commandment, the 10th commandment. We're going to get into what it's up. What is that? Oh, no, not again. Guys, I'm really sorry. Do you hear that? They're up. Are they doing... Oh, not the fighting again. Oh, let's see what's going on.
Give it here.
No, it's mine.
Give it
mine.
here.
No,
I want it.
It's mine.
Come on, give it
That's
here.
mine. No.
Give it.
No, it's mine. Mine.
Give it.
Mine. Nobody lays a finger on my butterfinger.
I never get anything. It's not fair. It's not fair. It's never fair. I don't get anything I want. It's never, never, never fair. You always get everything you want, and I never get a thing.
But this is mine. Guys, what are you doing? Stop. You can't fight like that. God doesn't want you fighting or being jealous about who has what. Sometimes all of us want something that belongs to someone else. And that's called coveting. And it's the 10th commandment from Exodus 20:17. You know, that greedy feeling we get when we want something that someone else has, and then we break the 10th commandment. You shall not covet anything that belongs to your neighbor, or anyone else for that matter. The Bible teaches us to be happy with what we have. Come on, guys. I want to read you a little story. And that story is Gertrude McFuzz by Dr. Seuss.
Gertrude McFuzz.
There once was a girl bird named Gertrude McFuzz, and she had the smallest plain tail ever was. One droopy droop feather, that's all she had. And oh, that one feather made Gertrude so sad. For there was another young bird that she knew, a fancy young birdie named Lullaby-Loo. And instead of one feather behind, she had 2. Poor Gertrude, whenever she happened to spy Miss Lullaby-Loo flying by in the sky, she got very jealous. She frowned and she pouted. Then, one day, she got awfully mad and she shouted, "This just isn't fair! I have 1, she has 2. I must have a tail just like Lullaby-Loo." So she flew to her uncle, a doctor named Dake, whose office was high in a tree by a lake. And she cried, "Uncle Doctor, oh, please, do you know of some kind of pill that will make my tail grow?" "Tut, tut," said the doctor, "such talk, how absurd! Your tail is just right for your kind of bird." Then Gertrude had tantrums. She raised such a din that finally her uncle, the doctor, gave in. And he told her just where she could find such a pill, on a pillberry vine on top of the hill. "Oh, thank you," chirped Gertrude McFuzz. And she flew right straight to the hill where the pillberry grew. Yes, there was the vine. And as soon as she saw it, she plucked off a berry and started to gnaw it. It tasted just awful, almost made her sick. But she wanted that tail, so she swallowed it quick. Then she felt something happen. She felt a small twitch, as if she'd been tapped down behind by a switch. And Gertrude looked around. And she cheered. It was true. 2 feathers. Exactly like Lolly-Loo. Then she got an idea. Now I know what I'll do. I'll grow a tail better than Lolly-Loo. These pills that grow feathers are working just fine. So she nibbled another one off of the vine. She felt a new twitch, and then Gertrude yelled, "Whee! Miss Lola has only just 2. I have 3. When Lolly-Loo sees this beautiful stuff, she'll fall right down flat on her face, sure enough. I'll show her who's pretty. I certainly will. Why, I'll make my tail even prettier still." She snatched at those berries that grew on that vine. She gobbled down 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And she didn't stop eating young Gertrude McFuzz till she'd eaten 3 dozen. That's all there was. Then the feathers popped out with a zang, with a zing. They blossomed like flowers that bloom in the spring, all fit for a queen. What a sight to behold! They sparkled like diamonds and gumdrops and gold. Like silk, like spaghetti, like satin, like lace. They burst out like rockets all over the place. They waved in the air, and they swished in the breeze. And some were as long as the branches of trees. And they still kept growing. They popped and they popped until long about sundown, when finally they stopped. "And now," giggled Gertrude, "the next thing to do is to fly right straight home and show Lolly-Loo. And when Lala sees these, why, her face will get red, and she'll let out a scream, and she'll fall right down dead." Then she spread out her wings to take off from the ground, but with all those feathers, she weighed 90 pounds. She yanked and she pulled, and she let out a squawk. But that bird couldn't fly, couldn't run, couldn't walk. And all through that night, she was stuck on that hill, and Gertrude McFuzz might be stuck up there still if her good Uncle Dake hadn't heard the girl yelp. He rushed to her rescue and brought along help. To lift Gertrude up almost broke all their beaks, and to fly her back home it took almost 2 weeks. And then it took almost another week more to pull out those feathers. My Gertrude was sore. And finally, when all of the pulling was done, Gertrude, behind her, again had just one. That one little feather she had as a starter, but now that's enough, because now she was smarter. The end. Did you like that story? So you see now, like Gertrude, when we want something desperately, sometimes we go to extreme measures to get it. And sometimes that can be like a good thing if it's a really good goal. But A lot of times when it's out of envy for something that someone else has, well, then our motivation is wrong. Like we do it for the wrong reason, which could be jealousy or not trusting God's plan, his special plan that he has for you, he has for me, he has for everyone. I wonder, have you ever felt like Gertrude felt? I mean, can you think of a time when you wanted something so bad that you would do anything, any crazy wild thing to get it? Did you think of something? I definitely was able to come up with a couple. I wonder, would you be like Gertrude in the story? Would you have kept eating, or would you have stopped eating after just one berry? Well, hey, remember how we talked about the 10th commandment in Exodus 20:17, how you shall not covet anything that belongs to your neighbors, anything that belongs to anyone. What Gertrude did certainly was coveting. So, children, and my monkey friends fighting over the Butterfinger, how do you think you can be happy with what you have? Well, it starts with our hearts and our thoughts. That's why this last commandment, the final commandment, number 10, it's so powerful. I think God left it last because he knows just how important it is. It leads to so many of the other commandments if you don't pay attention to this commandment about coveting. Here's why. It gets into how we think and how we act, because our thoughts determine how we act. And so this commandment, it's not just about being jealous or envious, or the word we use, coveting other people's belongings. I mean, it could even be like wanting to have skills like someone else, like their talents, and or being jealous of how they do on a test, or being jealous of their appearance. Maybe you want to look like someone different, or and it all goes back to how you feel and think, and trusting in God's plan for you. And so I think God knows that our thoughts are important because our thoughts lead to good actions. And when we think about ways to love other people, God's pleased with that. And when we think about the things that God teaches, the things that make God happy, it's also a lot easier for us to stay away from the thoughts that lead us into sin. But of course, we're humans and we mess up all the time. We do all sorts of sins. Thank God for Jesus, since he covers all of our sins. And when you focus on Jesus, like when you think about him and his life and the way that he acted and showed love, then your thoughts are going to be more protected from doing the things that make God upset, like breaking his commandments. And then you'll start to act more like Jesus. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, my monkey assistants, are you ready to help? So Jesus tells us that what we think has a big effect on how we act. And when he came to be an example for us, he loved everyone. His thoughts were always about how he could show love and serve others. So the bowl, we're going to put some water in it. So the bowl with water is our brains. And we're going to add some pepper to that. That's going to be our thoughts. Mr. Monkey, can you give me a hand with this? Oh, that's a lot. Okay, that's a lot. Oh, okay, good. Achoo! So if we don't honor God with our thoughts and action, the sin, that pepper that's in our brains, it starts to cloud up our minds. And then, what happens, what you think about is what you do. Our actions always follow our thoughts. But the good news, no matter how sinful our minds may become, Jesus is always more powerful. So here we go. This is what it's like focusing on Jesus. Whoa, that's amazing. Pretty cool, huh? Inviting Jesus into our hearts and following his ways protects us from sin. Just as Jesus taught, we please God with our thoughts. Philippians 4:8 says, "Fix your thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. Think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise." So, this is a pretty big candy bar, I really don't need all of it. And I think it would please God to share it with you. If I chose to share it with you, that would be pleasing to him.
Now that's a thought that pleases God and my belly.
Butterfinger.